There might be a small bottle.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Happy May Day to everyone. I will call the meeting to order. Had a chance to look at the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Betty, if you would read the minutes of the April 24th meeting, please.
April 24th, 2023, Chairman Cluse called the regular meeting of the Wright County Board of Supervisors to order at 9 a.m. Members present were Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold. Motion by Helgevold, seconded by Rasmussen to approve the tentative agenda. Motion carries. Minutes of the previous regular meeting of April 17, 2023 were read and approved claims for payment. In open forum, Mark Hill asked if there is any work being done to the old maintenance building roof, currently the bridge shed north of the sheriff's office. Clemens is waiting on a quote and will look into that further. Cluse talked about the notice that was received from Mid-American Energy. There'll be a long-range transmission line project going through the southern portion of the county. This will replace the wood pole structures with steel, which are more resilient against extreme weather. Mid-American Energy is seeking additional right-of-way for this project. There will be a public meeting held on June 1st at 10 a.m. at the Rails Depot Event Center in Eagle Grove. Motion by Helgevold, seconded by Rasmussen to approve resolution 2023-21 to adopt the 2023-2024 Wright County budget by roll call vote. Ayes, Rasmussen, Cluse, and Helgevold. Nays, none. Resolution 2023-21 duly passes and reads as follows. And then you can see that full resolution in its entirety. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Cluse to appoint Eric Rector, Wright County Conservation Director, to work on the water quality initiatives on the Wright County farm located at Section 5 Lincoln Township, and to have Cluse sign the letter. Motion carries. Adam Clemens, Wright County Engineer, presented resolution 2023-20. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to approve resolution 2023-20, an adjustment to specific bridge embargoes by roll call vote. Ayes, Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold. Nays, none. Resolution 2023-20 duly passes and reads as follows. And there you can see that full resolution in its entirety. Clemens gave an update on the secondary roads. There were 7 work orders completed last week. Blades are prepping and leveling the engineer miles as they are being hauled. There are 49 out of 56 segments of hauled for the engineer miles, making that 87.5% complete. Crews will be doing a shoulder rehab reclaim on 310th Street east of Highway 69. Clemens is working with Central Valley on a detour during that process. The handbook committee presented the revised handbook to the supervisors. Adam Clemens, Peggy Schlutenhofer, and Deb Lucas went over the highlight sheet, discussing the changes that are being made. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Helgevold to accept the changes to the employee handbook and set the effective date of July 1, 2023. Motion carries. Clemens will send notification to the deputies and jailers union as per current contract language. Motion by Helgevold, seconded by Rasmussen to adjourn the meeting. Motion carries.
The only, I had asked Clemens to prepare the letter, but it was actually signed by me, so it's, if we could
Clarify.
change that.
Okay.
Are there any other additions or corrections? Hearing none, they'll stand approved as corrected. Claims for payment. Did everybody get those signed?
Yes.
Open forum for public input. Item number 5. Bob, do you have anything for us?
Well, there's that, PIMSA meeting down in Des Moines.
Yes, sir.
You were that.
Planning to attend, working to have my engineer and also the planning and zoning coordinator attended with me. Yeah,
Cause I think that's gonna be a nationwide meeting, it sounds like.
I assume so.
I think there's gonna be people who
Yeah. Will you attend it
just,
on the webinar?
yeah.
Right. Anyone else? Brittany, you're on the agenda, so. Okay. Item number 6, Brittany Housen requesting the use of the courthouse lawn on June 9th from 5 to 7 p.m. for a community activity.
Yes. our retail committee is planning on doing a family fun night, the Friday night before festival, and then it'll be 5 to 7. We have the youth wrestling, putting on a meal.
Right.
And then we're having a movie theater, play a kids movie, to try and give kids something to do. If we should use your yard.
Okay. The yard I don't see being an issue. I don't know about the parking lot. Normally we leave that open for public parking,
Right,
right?
until the evening time it closes, but they
Yeah.
coordinate with Andy.
Yeah.
Yep, and then, yeah. and then-
Andy, yeah.
He
Okay.
told me to get on
Talk
with
to
you
us.
guys, yeah.
Okay.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the use of the courthouse lawn on June 9th, from 5 to 7 for, that's not the chamber, it's called the
The CDA, we're under them.
PDA, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7, review and act on fireworks permit.
Got a fireworks permit request from Dan Smith. And it looks for May dates of display, May 26, 27, 28.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day weekend, but not on Memorial Day.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve a fireworks permit for Dan Smith. With an address in Rowan. All the paperwork is in order. To approve that fireworks permit for the 26th, 27th, and 28th of May. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, item number 8, review and act on proclamation for May being Mental Health Awareness Month. It's a proclamation by CICS, which is our region for mental health. The proclamation reads, Mental Health Month of 2023. Look around and look within. Whereas the area that someone lives and plays a significant role in their overall health and well-being, and whereas surroundings can impact if, how, and when a person's needs are met, which in turn affects mental health. And having safe, stable, healthy home conditions set the foundation for achieving and maintaining good mental health. And with early and effective interventions, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. Therefore, the Wright County Supervisors do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Mental Health Month in Wright County. Call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Wright County to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health issues, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. And that is the proclamation in its entirety.
Do a motion to approve the proclamation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation declaring May as the Mental Health Month in 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
You want to just scribble at the bottom from me, please?
Sign it at the bottom here.
Item number 9, Adam Clemens, secondary roads update.
Okay, so blades have been out, they were out last week prepping and leveling their last engineer miles that they got hauled to them. They started doing the rock miles because the truck drivers started hauling the rock miles because they're completed with the engineer miles. We're still planning that rehab reclaim on the shoulder on 310th Street east of Highway 69 on May 15th. We're working with Centrum on that to make sure that we're not impeding any of their traffic. Like I said, trucks has finished the engineer miles, the start of the rock miles. Work orders completed 7 last week, repairs 5, drainage 1, and a service, the sheriff's office, 1. Granite program, year 3 scheduled rock is 6.19% complete. There's 97 segments. Nate told me we're about anywhere from 7 to 10 days ahead of where we were last year with the rocking. So I think we completed the engineer rock faster. Miscellaneous last week, we had safety training. We had flagger training on Wednesday with LTAP. MSHA training on Thursday, also with site specific training for Martin Marietta. So they require us to do that. They come in and they talk about their quarries and what's changed in the mines. And then we also had Tiffin and Sandy and one of her staff come for CPR and first aid to the guys.
So are all of our truck drivers,
Everybody,
did everybody completed it?
everybody,
Excellent. Thank you for doing that.
everybody did it. So we were required every year to do MSHA, an
Yeah.
update on MSHA. So with that, we do first aid. Some of them didn't have to because they already had it with the fire departments. So positions, we filled that mechanic internally with Heath Tolt. Heath was a heavy equipment operator. He decided to move over to the shop. So we do have a heavy equipment operator open right now. And then 2 truck positions. We have interviewed 3 or 4 people right now. And should be making a decision here soon. Have some pretty good candidates.
Great.
Summer hours, I wanted to allude to that. Road crew went to their 410s and the engineer's office went to their 4 days a week also this year. So.
Good.
Yeah. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 10, Dan Wiedemeyer, engineer with McClure Engineering to give an update on GD 107. And I see that you're on. Can you hear us?
Mhm.
I am muted.
You see.
Jay. Exactly.
I'll get 5 feet now.
I was gonna try to. Yes. I think you went out. Yeah.
Updated one. Updated one.
Get a couple chats on there, didn't
What did you say in the chat?
He said that he's muted.
There's no video or audio.
He's the middle one.
Yes, I know.
Hey, Dan. We're working on our end, seeing if we can figure out, if we can unmute you down here. We don't think we have you muted. Are you muted on your end?
Well, I tell you what, I keep getting a little pop-up that says I'm invited to unmute, and for whatever reason, it's not allowing me to do that. So we're having some technical difficulties. That's what I tried to save the district some money by just doing a call-in versus the versus in person, but that's what I did. I apologize.
Okay. I'm gonna have you call, is there a number here that he can call?
Is it Is it listed on the agenda?
You could call into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Call the number.
Oh, there it is.
Hey, oh, here we go. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, hang on. Connect with, the drainage attorney. Is Brit, yeah, not written, recordings here. Thank you. Morning, Dave.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, just getting ready to, take action, well, not to take action, but to discuss, Dan's gonna present the McClure Engineering and give an update on the DD 107. Our minutes from our previous meeting. This was from October 3rd of 2022, motion by Helgevold, seconded by Clues to appoint McClure Engineering to look into the petition for repair for a land bridge in DD 107 lateral 1, motion carried. So Dan, over to you now.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time today, everybody, and also wading through the technical difficulties. Try to save the district a buck by saving on some drive time and meeting time and making everybody wait in the process. So I apologize for that. Either way, we took a look at the crossing located in section 18, I believe it's the southwest northwest of section 18 of Norway Township on the open ditch there, and found a few things. For one, it appears that there's a 60-inch culvert that's in place right now. And just by the looks of it, it's past its useful life. And in particular, if you look at the upstream end of that culvert, what's happened is there's a seam that has rusted on the bottom side of the culvert. And then the ends have curled up inwards, creating a blockage, significantly reducing the capacity. So this culvert does need to be removed in place. So the question is then, with what do we replace it with? And so that question can be answered in a number of different ways. And I'll give you a couple examples, and then I'll tell you about what we landed on for this design, or for what we laid out in our letter today. So if you are an engineer for a road crossing with the DOT, what you do is you look at catastrophic situations, the worst storm event you can think of, and you try to make it so that whatever road is crossing the open ditch is never overtopped with water. In other words, whatever creek or river or ditch is there will never flood over the top of the road that is crossing. What we see with designs like that is we see really large pipe sizes and or bridges, and they become quite expensive. Now, for the purposes of farm crossings that aren't used every day by hundreds of cars, we try to slim those criteria back a little bit. So what we saw in the past, and I believe this was probably put in the 70s roughly, and possibly even by McClure Engineering. But what we had done in the past was we designed for a 10-year storm. In other words, that culvert would be able to hold back rains from a storm in 9 out of 10 years. And what we saw is that culvert held up for almost 40 years, which is pretty good. Now, in recent history, in several counties across Iowa, what we've seen is a lot of those 10-year culverts are getting washed out, even ones that are put in more recently. And so in our more recent letters, we've been looking at 25-year storms to try and offset that. So what we advise in this letter is for a 7-foot or 84-inch culvert to be put in its place. Now this culvert is also going to be longer because another thing that we noticed was the embankments on either side of the culvert were pretty steep. the embankments on the ditch surrounding it are set to a 2-to-1 side slope. In other words, for every foot of rise, you get 2 feet of run. And that tends to be a little bit more stable than what we saw on site. Again, that held up for 4 years, and that's pretty great. But going forward, we're going to advise a 2-to-1 side slope. And that should help out with quite a few of the issues that we saw in this place. Do we have any questions at this point?
Have you got an estimated cost?
No, I do not. As I recall, we wanted to get a pretty straightforward letter and scope. But if you want me to spend some more time on it, I can dig into that. But yeah, we've got a letter to get the discussion going.
Okay. So, you know, you're talking about an improvement to the drainage district because you're increasing the size, therefore the flow. So I'm gonna need I would need a cost estimate to. Well, it's an improvement, so I will need to go to a hearing for the drainage district. So that the members of that district could be informed of.
Are you talking about the the private land crossing?
Correct.
And if that's a private, is that a drainage asset that we're talking about, or is that a
I'm trying to resolve a petition for repair for the land bridge submitted by Jay Pogge back on July 30th of 2018. And again, the petition for repair says access to landlocked area washed out, riprap has been washed into the ditch.
Dean, can I chime in here?
Yes.
So obviously there has been litigation regarding this land bridge. There has been an issue as to whether it's a private land bridge or a district asset. We are not asking the engineer to give an opinion about either way. In order to try to resolve this controversy, one of the first things we need is to find out what is the most feasible solution here. And it sounds like the engineer has an opinion about what is the most feasible solution. And I just wanted to check and make sure that any other options hadn't been discarded at all. So if I could just get an answer to that question in general, were there any other options that you considered that might be close in cost, or are you thinking this is pretty much the sole remedy for this situation?
Dan, that's addressed to you.
Yep, that is a fantastic question. So I tried to keep my investigation, my scope as slim as possible. So I did not look into any other potential options for accessing the field. Can we describe the question as that? How do we access this field? Is that fair, everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Have we looked at right of ways or possibly using the ditch embankment as access to the field?
Well, let me stop you there, because that's something that we can investigate without your assistance. If we want to look into an easement, we can do that as a potential option. But if we're going to do some construction here, if that's the route that we take, we're asking you to tell us what is the best solution, the most feasible solution from a construction standpoint. Do you have any other options that you would like us to consider, or do you think there's really just one?
So the other options that could potentially be considered would be a bridge, which would almost guaranteed be more expensive for nominal capacity. I don't think that would be a very good option. I have seen another district that has what they call a low water crossing, where you more or less, rather than having a culvert, you drive through the creek. That's all, there are a whole lot of issues that pop up into that, and frankly, this ditch is probably too deep for such a thing, so we really didn't investigate that either. You can call those options B and C, and I would throw both of those options out.
Would you keep it in the same location, or would you move it into a different location on the ditch?
That is a very good question. In particular, because this location is at a slightly lower elevation than other places on the ditch. Which means that the ponding that occurs behind the culvert isn't able to be as deep. But I would say that this is still a reasonable location. There really isn't a huge reason to move it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is your most feasible solution would be to replace the culvert with a 72 foot in length, 84-inch culvert, with a 15-foot wide road area or lane area with a 2-to-1 side slope. That is your best recommendation.
That's correct. Yep.
And Dave, what I'm hearing from you is we would need a cost estimate for doing that.
Yeah, what I would like to have done, what I would ask you, the board, to do would be to instruct the engineer to prepare an engineer's report regarding the best repair / improvement for this project. You've already heard the general recommendation, but if we're going to set this for a public open hearing, I want the landowners to have an estimate of cost so they can study it and decide whether they're for it or against it, and for the board to consider whether it's feasible. We have other legal issues in this instance. So I would request the board to instruct the engineer to go and prepare an actual engineer's report. Now, we don't want to have extra expense involved with a plans and profiles and the actual plans. If it's going to be this project, we don't want to go to the cost of preparing plans. We don't want an assessment schedule or a reassessment of anything. We want to just the project and just a cost estimate, so that when we have our hearing 40 days or more from now, it'll be filed. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. We want him to go back to the drawing board, prepare the engineer's report, get it filed, hopefully within a couple of weeks or whatever amount of time he thinks he needs. And then we can give it the official tentative approval, because then it meets the format of what you want. I don't think that this letter meets the format of what you want, because we want the cost. So we're going to ask him to go back, do the cost part of the report, file it. We'll give it tentative approval, presumably, and then we'll schedule it for the public hearing in the future.
Okay. Do you understand that, Dan?
Well, let me reiterate so I make sure that I understand here. So we want, so not to dispute any information on here, we want something that is described as a report that also includes a cost estimate, but would ultimately look pretty similar to what we have today.
Correct. A cost estimate to replace the existing 60-inch culvert with an 84-inch culvert, put the 2-to-1 side slopes on it, and have a 15-foot wide top.
Again, we're assuming that's your best recommendation. We're not trying to force you into this, but we want what you think is the best recommendation, the most feasible recommendation, assuming that's what it is.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, reports often include a thorough review of records, district history, and a few other sundry items. I'm guessing that that's not necessarily pertinent to, I mean, you guys are doing a thorough historic investigation. You're more looking for engineering recommendations and measurements on what is to be, or what should be there versus what we've had in the past. Is that correct?
Couldn't hear the entire statement, but at the beginning, did you mention anything about history? Did I hear that?
Yeah, usually when I'm writing a report, that's part of what is requested. So, looking at the history,
We've had enough litigation involving this, so we don't need another history on this.
okay, that's why I was asking.
We don't need to
So,
get money on that.
okay. That's just fine. And then the question that you guys are still reviewing is this a private asset or is this a district asset, correct?
Yes, that has been the disputed point from the beginning.
Okay, yep. Because, and the reason I ask is because typically as a private asset, this letter right here is all that we do. Generally do not have an engineer's report with that. So seeing as that's in dispute, that's why we would like something that is more of a report than a letter. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Just wanted to make sure.
Anything else, Dave?
I can't think of anything else. Thank you all. And I would just add, I know Pogies are there and I know that they've been waiting a long time. And I regret that we received a letter report from the engineer instead of a full engineer's report. I apologize for that. It wasn't done intentionally to drag this out. I think that Dan was just trying to do something that was economical, but we do want to have a quote engineer's report because the code requires it. And then we want to see the report, give it tentative approval, and that gives the landowners the 40 days to read it, digest it, see if they want to argue it. And so really, it seems like we're delaying, but we're actually doing a courtesy to say that we don't want to surprise anybody with the report on the day of the hearing. We want to get it a couple of weeks from now, file it for record. Everybody can look at it, and then we'll schedule the 40-day hearing so that everybody has a chance to prepare themselves and have a full and adequate time to review it and come to the hearing fully informed.
Yeah, I
That's all I
do
have.
apologize. This is the exact process that I do for a farm crossing. So it sounds like there's a little bit more homework that needs to be done in order to match this particular situation.
So we do a motion then to have him do the report then?
Yeah, first I wanted to see if the Hoagies had any questions or I understand the frustration. I absolutely do, Jay. I get it.
I guess the only question that we probably came with today is, why is this a drainage district landowners vote versus an insurance claim for the damage caused to the property? Wouldn't your umbrella policy cover?
The drainage districts do not have insurance for these kinds of things. If it is truly a drainage district asset and a drainage district expense, that has to be paid from the landowners that are assessed in the district.
Okay.
And obviously we're being cautious about taking a position about whether we truly agree that it's a private asset versus a drainage district asset. I don't want to debate that today. We want to find out how much it would cost to fix this issue, and then we can address the issue of private versus district, and we can address that at that point. But we need to know what's at play here. Is it $1 million or is it $100,000? Because obviously that matters to everybody. So we would just like to take it one step at a time and get the cost first, and then we can base how you want to proceed and how we want to proceed, and we'll see if we have any common ground. And hopefully we do, but if we don't, we'll have to figure out what it is.
Very good.
Dean, I've got to sign off. Thank
Okay.
you all. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, so again, as acting as trustees for the drainage district, I would need a motion to appoint McClure Engineering, Dan Wiedemeyer, to present a report that does not include plans or profile, but does include a cost estimate to replace that existing culvert with an 84-inch culvert, 72-foot long, with a 15-foot wide top and 2-to-1 slope.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Dan, is there any questions?
Questions on my end?
Okay,
Thank you for answering everything that I had so far.
okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That could be a change. Any meetings?
I had Udmo, and we've got our annual meeting coming up, May 24th. At Shores in Emmitsburg. And other than that, that's all I have.
This Wednesday or Thursday, Friday, we have our district supervisors, state meeting, and that will be the 6 district presidents, and then ISAC will be in Fort Dodge. We'll tour a couple of their plants there and have meetings at the Holiday Inn Express for 2 days. And then also I was informed yesterday through our DCAT that we started, mental health in schools years ago. We were the first, cluster in the state to actually put mental health counselors in school. Barry Hill's been handling that. They will not be renewing the contract as of the fall. Iowa Specialty Hospital also does mental health in schools, so I reached out to them to see if they'd be willing to do a request for proposal for the fall, so we don't have a gap. So,
That'd be in all 3 schools.
yeah, there's a 3-county cluster, and I talked to Steve last week, and he'd be willing to look at that when that comes up. So it was kind of a shock. We did not realize Berry Hill was going to pull out. They're funded, but they are scaling back on some of those things. So I'm not sure the total details why they're doing that. We just got the letter last Friday.
Okay. I had Midas meeting on, I guess on Monday I had building families. Again, I relayed to them that DCAT had got our funding for the HOPES program. So we're working around that. Then on Wednesday, we were scheduled for a Midas meeting, but they didn't have a quorum, so that was canceled. And Thursday I had a CFR meeting. And things seem to be running well there. Again, the Iowa City and the Des Moines campuses are now all under CFR. So we have campuses in Des Moines, Ames, Fort Dodge, and Iowa City.
Also, our CICS meeting was canceled this week. It will be under the old funding when the counties paid their portion for the mental health. There was a representative from each county on the region. That will be changing next year. The region cannot have over 49% supervisors on that. And then the remaining supervisors that aren't on the executive board will be on an advisory board. So we're working through those situations because of the new rules that the state have put in effect.
Do you anticipate that you'll be one of those that represent?
I'll know more in the next 30 days.
Okay. Last Monday, I did attend the meeting over in Franklin County on moratorium on CO2 pipelines. It was their first meeting. They have 2 other public meetings scheduled, one for today at 10 o'clock, and then another one, I think the following Monday, also at 10 or 10:30. There were some viewpoints that were presented there. I did not speak. I went over there to listen. So it'll be interesting to see if they impose that moratorium. If they do it, it will be from a planning and zoning standpoint. Their planning and zoning committee brought it to them asking for a moratorium. They denied it. It went back to the planning and zoning committee. They came back again and asked them to hold these public meetings and to do a moratorium on it. And so they're proceeding now. I don't know, if they'll vote at the end of the 3rd meeting or if they'll waive the 3rd meeting and vote today. I'm not certain of that. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach that and the reaction from Summit on that if they file a lawsuit.
So their moratorium that the supervisor would pass would halt the construction in their eyes.
I think halt the construction, and I believe it's until PIMSA completes their review of CO2 pipeline safety procedures. I was notified on Friday from Christina Paradise, who's with Snyder and Associates, who we've hired to be our inspector for the pipeline, that there is a meeting in Des Moines on May 31st and June 1st. And it's a PIMSA meeting, public hearings or public input is what they're looking for. Will also have presenters there. And I'm I'm registered to go and I asked Adam, since he'll be dealing with it for the right of ways. And also Jeremy as our planning and zoning to attend it with me also, so. I think that's,
And PENSMA isn't that
that is.
Safety.
That is.
Hazardous Material Safety Administration.
Thank you. Yeah. Pipeline, say it again, Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration. And that's what Summit's lawyers are using. They're arguing preemption, that because that's a federal agency that they preempt the Iowa Utility Board from using safety as a concern for this, so. But again, PIMSA is reviewing their CO2 hazardous pipelines regulations. Is there anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
for budget